perfect design, aligned for the total, the next step for all of us in the energy field. Hold on a minute. I have a very important thing to say. The caliber, I know that Trey Parker has gone through hatred of me, but that's the point in the human expression of redemption. So, you guys, on a very practical level, first of all, we need to stand on the truth for to cure the identity crisis and the problem of Earth is to not live in denial about cause and effect and where things come from. The sunlight knows, and we dissolve it through our communication. Like the cures from the Amazon, the identity comprehends it, transcends it and makes it right and happen. Okay, when if we, what would actually cause a real problem for Earth and humanity is if we start doing like a life in denial crookedness. Okay, so the tenacity to survive 2021 is with Trey Parker because he's having an intense life and he is a king of the earth. The Where map has changed this and it has all these tomes. This upset, did Hatch attack me? These feelings are balanced. I mean, we've gone through seasons of cringe and hatred to return back to the final form or the correct form. Trey Parker, I'm here to talk with you because I don't want you to be like the little buddy of the earth and the Mandelbrot, the little jerk that didn't get what was going on. So, shh, guy, you're free, you talking is bad for my business. That's like impossible, right? So, for you guys to get triggered by my free speech is an indication that you have skeletons in your karma that's making you retarded as an old person, as an adult, and your professional stance and what it means to exist. You cannot escape those values. If you want to know why there's an environmental crisis, right, there's an identity crisis behind that. And so, in order to solve the problem, is to have our bearings and our standings in life. Our generation is the most cutting edge, extreme, advanced character. We've gone through a slingshot from the development of computers to an age where I mean, it's on another level. There won't be another generation who's like, we really went through a lot, guys. No, not really. They've got a nice roller coaster of things to look forward to. This is the generation that does a lot of work, which almost makes it the pollution almost begins to become right. But it's not like cool to be like, oh, I'm on the pollution side or be making pollution cool. The pollution is a zombie, know what? And we need to put it down. I just like to perform a little bit for you. Welcome to the Wizard's Table. Hatch the Revolutionary. It's come full circle, you guys, because or for example, while I was driving away from LA, oh, and and my car broke down, and I'm sorry about all that. I know that that's like not really your guys' fault, but you guys have a lot of power with this thing, and I just the finances is holding me back. So I mean, that's a weird reality. Uh, but for the sake of like, what is it that we are saying, and what's going on with my creative karma? Because I don't want to start spitting out in tongues like, oh, this is actually about like the problem of extinction that I'm not apparently I don't understand what I had to say. Like, okay, so Trey, like, basically, after I was driving away from LA, right? And you're just like in a place where you're just like, wow, what totally dodged a bullet. I hate this person. We're totally gonna rip him on the show. It's gonna be funny, or like amazing, right? I get it. And I was like, oh boy. And it's just been a lot of like torture for me actually in IRL, but also just sort of like it appears that the Earth is actually doing a calculation with me, through me, because of me, uh, on the societal standing, uh, and we're rebalancing configurations to prioritize survival and the suits of identity. For example, mankind has sequestered a residency, which means our inheritance is the sort of amazing thing that goes on with the earth. And this is the sort of milk bottle that belongs to our children, and it's the child of our society, the continued living of humanity without interruption. That's so the sort of trauma that we've gone through as a society, as a people, is represented here in the Wizard's Table as we're talking. We speak of this and it becomes present. It's an entity of existence. Let's be at our utmost. I had visions that we could actually transcend and speak completely to the point, in a way. Like there's these different negotiations of the human condition that like sub navigate and be like, and like bring up attitudes, be like, oh, but I'm really just you know so that's the kind of the system of the down, and like a temptation, that it's like, so Hatch is so difficult because he's performing every day. It's exhausting, it's too much, but then it comes around, it's like, oh, whoa, this is really good, right? But okay, that's the dream, that's the hope, and we're in through the going through, uh, we want to produce Hatch, where we're, So hold on a second. I'm just trying to say, I get the joke. The point is that Trey is an image of human uh, transcendence, being like, oh, I was wrong about Hatch completely. Like we really snubbed him at the door. That it just wasn't cool of us. Oops. 360. Okay, that would be Trey Parker's image, his transcendence, and his Messiah image through the Ware map for Earth, for humanity, just be like, uh, just to turn on a dime and be like, oh, I get it. My Messiahhood is that I'm like, I realize that we, but that's a lot that has gone through. There's evolutions here where after I'm driving away from LA, Trey's just like, oh, hatred. And then there was a couple episodes where I was sort of flatlined in the subtext of like a couple like nuance points, like that's why no, and I'm like, I'm just impressed. I was impressed at the time that, and it was amazing for our society to be so lucid and advanced. And Trey is a very amazing communications uh, magazine. Uh, but there's more, and we have to believe in that. And I think that, oh, that was part of the transcendence lock key. Let's unlock the transcendent moment. We need to be the alpha wolves of society, comprehending cutting edge things. Hatch is saying the sooner the better. My communication. I want the first kiss to be really beautiful, which needs a producer so that it's like you're watching a fully produced movie. But the way Hatch works, truly a low budget appear is it looks like it's yeah. Big budget, all right, you guys? Because we're working with Pro here with the Earth True. Oh, okay, so the ascension there, in the negotiation with technology, like I learned HTML, and you went through a thing where you learned all the things about like this original mixer, right? And then the frustrating thing is that it kind of gets upgraded. All of a sudden, all all the sort of tools and stuff have changed drastically, and it just becomes this sort of thing. The point is that this is not the effect of growing old, like, oh, like I just don't get the tools anymore. It's actually like when you're looking at without exploring every single aspect of this idea, or there's a couple aspects here that are funny and that make it funny. The point is that Trey and Hatch are both directors of a type of level where it is a subtraction for them to know how to operate, for example, a program known as Unity. Unity is just ridiculous. So I had to struggle so hard to like to figure out Unity to a certain point, right? What's interesting about it is that the tools are built in such a way that it's simply the programmers are asking you to do it the way that they want you to do it. They're like, if you want to do something like this really advanced thing, there's only one way of doing that, and you have to follow our specific instructions, or else you just can't do that maneuver. And so it's just like this huge thing, but you can pick it up quickly, and I did, and I completed my virtual model assembly and the sizing and putting it together and then uploading it and all that through Unity. Um, what I'm trying to say is that the Rapidash of all that this generation has gone through is a caliber set of its own. That is to say, Trey, you really are an advanced hope that humanity will survive on this planet. And Hatch, it gives you the shortcut. Hatch is like, produce me as soon as possible. That is the shortcut. That is the answer to the math here. Is that a communication between Hatch and humanity is going to cause us, it's going to be, it's going to signal humanity's survival plus residency on a continued format, making a hard wire towards the spawn locations of our children's inheritance fire points to make sure that that's full and robust. Oh, what would really, the worst possible thing would be if there was an invasion and a suggestion about who is in charge on Earth. Like that would not be okay. And it's scientifically an invasion. Cartographically, it's sort of like you guys really know more about being in your ship or being on those other planets or being in your body like as the universe is like, oh, there's something awakening here, like this sort of this Aquarius trying to happen, and it's like, pew, 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 boom. Like what happened to the lights? Like why is it not working out? All right. So then we go to a point where we can be angelic and say, well, so let's make some extra special things happen, and we'll use our hands, and that's actually how to get source code. So us actually doing it is more powerful than if there was a miracle that made something happen. Because miracles actually mean something different in the universal vocabulary. And it spans across time as well. So there's a depth in the in multiple dimensions that constrains the creation model. But as we are piloting the now point, we are the most powerful entity. And this time of the universe, we are the fulcrum, the garden life people, and the fetuses on the Mandelbrot is specific to our task. Because of the playfulness of the language from the Mandelbrot, I know that the Enlightenment is completely optional here on Earth. And it's literally like the sun and the earth are talking with Trey, just saying, Hatch is a very, this next level, this hidden reserve, that blitz that we can save the world. What do you want to do with him? Would you like to, you want to make a show with him or what? But we should get going with this because I think we understand Hatch is so independent. He will complete the task, as directing and managing the films and pilots that we're working on, right? Um, oh, the transcendent moment. Dang it! I was just thinking about it because all right, all right. Well, I mean, I know that Trey has a bunch of other projects and uh, stories basically that he's working on. So armor up, Trey, and I want you to feel that this is part of the constructive side of what you're doing, and like that stuff's sanctioned is what I was saying. Um, Also, it's difficult for me to talk about my inspiration when, the issue is very adult and just in a matter of a couple of sentences, I can explain why this is important or urgent, the CO2 solution and the ozone solution. And I'm not sure, like, what kind of game you guys are playing with this sort of, like a production meeting or something, while there's wildfires. These are the adult signs for your generation. You guys miss this, it's gonna default. That's literally the fall of civilization. And to another, like a more youthful, basically my generation, takes up the reins of like, we're not okay with wildfire and the collapse of our environment. It's not okay. We're not okay with it, and we're gonna fight against it. So I'm the one fighting against it. You guys are the silent. That's just why my meetings, get negative because I guess there's just a lot of reality behind what I'm talking about, and I know you guys can sense it. And in fact, it's sort of the wear map was designed to inspire you to be the hero to solve it. And you're like, oh, this newfangled computer gadget, I must not really understand what Hatch is saying. Oh, really? You've literally put yourself into like such a coma, Trey. I mean, for you to have a 360 be like, oh, I hate, like, it's the biggest reprisal ever. Because actually, I'm just like wizard anomaly. It's just my body is different since birth. And just the entire entropy of humanity is going, like that. So I think, like, in a way, I'm infamous, and you guys will be like sipping my tea and being like, this guy probably not, and it's like you're drinking the tea that I do with the peoples here from the flat dimension, residency frequencies. Okay, the man brought, yeah, is our task, our generation. So, but it's been boiled down to this a little letter that the gatekeeper was able to produce and send to the wear map person guy, some wizard mentioned by because I was talking with Earth. Earth is very psychic about my timeline, my life. And I was like, well, I'm going to open a business now. And it's just like, it was just sort of this joke about Trey Parker and how to enter into the industry. And of course, it's just like, an indirect thing. Like it got all complicated. Like, oh, he wants to talk to everybody. Take his money, censor. And it's just like to me, I'm like to the earth. I'm like, why did you set my course with the where map? Like it was totally. And I think that's just like that's like where things are. It's like we need like a magical hand things, or else there's gonna be the poops of the COVID-19. It's like the unconscious blue code. That's just like basically strategy for against extinction, for the hope that Trey Parker would be lurched into a place like I am conscious. I am conscious. Okay. So I'm responsible for what I'm responsible for, in fact. Moving beyond that, the reality is that producing Hatch solves all those things that went wrong, and because of that, this disconnection in the timeline continuum. If our boys are Time Lords, that's what we're responsible for. The power sets, the boys have the light. If the boys begin to have their own psychic powers and they're able to do things that isn't just a distorted ghost vision, oh, that's not, no, ghosts aren't real, right? But that would be real if the boy had some sort of super next level power. So when I'm talking about, I can sense the flux of America through the wind tunnel 2019, 2020, and 2021. I'm saying, like, I see how Trey genuinely hated me, and then, I don't know, maybe just for, like, recently, just like, oh, what? So you're trying to make things better. Like, I thought you were attacking me. Oh, that's well, use your imagination, buddy. You're a little buddy to the Mandelbrot and to the Earth during its time of apocalypse season, right? They need a hero, and you guys are like, he wants to make a communication. We don't know what to do. And that's frustrating. And beneath your intelligence. So here's where you need to have an update and not be like, I am an example of society, but actually be a little bit more of a leadership styles, which would mean producing Hatch. And it's really the way we do it. That's what I've been talking about this past month. We could do through 55 Putney, or we could go to this house in Maine, or we could do it through a road trip where I'm just building a Breathe the Mask XR. But really, it's just a matter of whether or not we're going to greenlight the project. And so that's where this impedance, because the question and answer is very simple, and so your inaction is a language of some sort. And I'm not against your free speech. It's that there's another reality around you that is impacted by your doings, and you're like in a actual deficit in your karma that's causing like probably just euphoria. I think that you're having the time of your life, Trey. I think that you're having absolutely the best time of your life. Well, certainly the issues here are concerning and passionate and keep you up at night. Like there are times at night you're like, shit, like I'm really upset. I believe I'm not disgracing that. I'm not undermining it. I'm just saying like, I absolutely believe that you are having the time of your life because everyone is. Everyone's having like a really good time, basically. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not, I'm actually very happy about my life and what I'm doing and how things are. I'm saying that there's something urgent here about extinction. So it's actually for the boys, and you guys are like, no, 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 you're going to align with extinction again because you don't understand how to direct. And because of the echo of the South Park curse, you know how things are disjointed from you, Trey. You're living a lie amongst people who are willing to support that. And that would cause the end of the world. As you being a disastrous liar and blaming me and censoring all these children's hopes. So you don't want. Do you need to understand that? I went to the bank today, and I've got some credit there. I could take out a couple $1,000. So, but I'm looking at. I mean, anywhere I'm looking is like an opportunity, but also a brand new encounter. Like, and the thing with Trey Parker is, I think he's really has enough things that are occupying him that he doesn't feel that. I mean, it's an exoskeletal structure of the internal structure because you're blue-eyed in twice a coma with no relief and no real friends that understand what I'm saying. So in a coma. So you have to be like, oh, so I need to activate something? What's going on? Produce hatch immediately. And that will solve everything, yes. Because the boy has a light, you have to believe in an identity. You have to believe also in yourself that you know that hatch is different. But, that's the thing. It's like, being an older director, it's not like we need to learn these ridiculous tools. It's sort of like a problem of emotional availability. Like when you're burnt out on dealing with people, it's not like it's like you need to love the discovery process of the youth who are able to fall in love, who are able to learn things, and who are able to spirit a movement that's jagged to here's a fucking solution for the ozone problem, you dumb bitch. And the kids are like, oh, and then it closes on the fires and puts it out by their magic, their meditation. They need Hatch the Revolutionary to spearhead that. You understand? It's like a social movement. You guys are like, you disparage it. You want to steal my money and you think it's a fair thing. Hatch is standing on a fair thing. $10,000 out of debt with him. Right out the gate. That's how we talk in 2019. That's a fair game. In 2020, just dragging along and lying. So to have a actual salvation of the earth, how do we save humanity? Is that your identity has to have a transformation. You're like, I have to have my responsibilities for my karma and my impact on existence. Perfect design. Oh yeah, so being like the wrong referral, like, oh, I must be an old man because I'm not interested in operating equipment that I don't know about. Those office referrals and excuses are the type of wrong condition that leads to the madness where you're living a lie on the plateau of denial for what cannot be denied by the living presence of millions of people who are wearing a real mask, that pressurized system, and the sunlight. The truth is known. I'm standing on your human condition like, I'm not psychic. I know, like you're twice in a coma, but the ultimate karma of blue perception overtakes your life and turns you into an example. Like with Matt Stone, he's a total codfish. You know, the great diagonal and the oppression to green perception. You need to be recognizing that and not be triggered by it, because then you're siding with evil that is against the wizards of the green perception. to not understand my creativeness. You think I'm uh, just making things, you're just talking out of your hat. Oh, that's not actually what's going on here. Oh, and it's not a cold reading. Like, your blue eyes have run out of robotic excuses, uses. Like, you've run the course and it's just like 2021 to have a total epiphany where you go from like, I was totally wrong about Hatch because he's born in a different, he has a different ethnicity, and we were triggered by him, and that's what all of us were supposed to not, we're not supposed to get triggered by that when we meet our friend there. You understand, you guys? And you, but you did the thing, and you were like, oh yeah, oh gosh, and then things blew up because physically my relationship shocks had been jagged out of your thing, and so you were like an anti-American whistling about the worst insults. Because Hatch is the sort of epicenter of the action of mankind. Of course, you guys can't sense humanity, you can't sense reality, and you perform the trigger, and then it's just denial, denial, don't produce free speech, don't let it happen. You know, I could do this myself if you guys just give me a simple refund. It's unconscionable, and for 3 years, you guys don't have any type of salvation. You've had no appropriate communications to me. This is your 5-4, that's your soul. That's what you are. No, we intended better. We want you to just go free, do something else. Oh, like you haven't, you know, injured what could have been by not doing what's right when you could have, and how that injured other people. Because I couldn't afford to elope. Hmm? Using money as a weapon, becoming wealthy, until that. Hmm. It's like a colossus death trap for Trey Parker. One that he is responsible for because it's woven from his free speech. But he had a disastrous interface. It wasn't. I was operating full capacity 444 entire human gate. I was following the wear map. The Earth is the substitute for not being psychic. That's why the wear map is there, because the humans don't have the pineal eye gland. Why would the Earth speak that way? Because he knows humanity. So we're supposed to produce Hatch. Yes, urgently, immediately. As you guys, converted the good energy, and that's not the example of leadership for and then people are upset because you become the wrong side of the intelligence that you represented your entire career as like intellectual, societal, on board people. No, you guys had actually the like, sabotaged Trey Parker in such a way to break him every day. Armor up, Omega Man. Alright guys, it's a real treat to talk with you guys about saving the children and saving Earth. You know, the intensity's not met, and I mean, you guys were talking about Hatch before you went out to LA, so all of your people knew about me. And you were also talking about me after that. All your people knew about that. And you guys are having zero appropriate behavior about a financial situation that you entrapped and collapsed. And you abandoned me through 2020. This is your social behavior in 2021 reality, the now point after the deadlights rose, in full view of the entire universe, where the boy has the light or aliens sequester the Shmoog Wow because of traitor fathers, the Antichrist, you doing the opposite of the appropriate manly behavior. So you need to change from that, and then you become the all-spark image of man's salvation through, realizing you're wrong and doing instead of like every day preventing the green light, actually doing the opposite of that and green lighting it. And it's not money entrapment. This is not an online troll scam. It's the pivot through the Wear map to calculate the salvation of the children, or at least their survival, despite you. So in your course moving forward, you are mapped into the zones that are forcing wildfires, pollution, the death of these people without the Breathe a Mask XR. That's time. And you guys are like, well, penal Island, wear a map. What, so the kids are now psychic, but we're not? And we're too slow to understand the wear map? The rules are too complicated. Why, it's not fair. You guys are super wealthy. It's not fair. It's disgusting. Because the only thing I need was a little bit of, I was asking you for production and you invited me out through our means of communication. What does that matter? It means that I'm fighting against the murder of the old system that was doing the pollution and murdering the children. That's you guys, the establishment. It's like impossible for me to get a loan for anything. The money has done its work. This is not free speech, but what I really just need is the editing equipment. I can absolutely perform. I can outperform you, Trey. That's for sure. Don't do the anti-entertainment thing, guy. Let them have a breather mask. It sounds like a good opportunity to produce Hatch, even though he's not some sort of bitch. He's our victim. We were attacking him for years. Oh, since he's the center of the triangle, Hatch and the Earth Tree are taking responsibility for the fallout, but only to a certain degree. You guys are into the zone where you're intelligently sabotaging the society, crippling the environment, betraying all the children, lying to all the women, doing your absolute worst, and being totally booked. I'm totally excited about my weed company. Therefore, I can't pay attention to his narrative. He's like making up something. No, it's based on the Wear map. Oh. Well, if Earth True sent you, I'll tell the sunshine what I'm gonna do. Alright, buddy. You're a little buddy to the fractal and to the Earth, you little traitor. I can't afford to allow you to have some friends with editors. Oh. It's like not funny or good-hearted. You know, I think you slumped into cruelty and you don't know how to recover because you think it has to do with honor or chastity or loyalty to your identity, as if I'd betrayed those things. I had not, because of the Wear map. So if you understand Earth and the language of tongues, then you would know what to do. But as you do not know what to do, then man has fallen and is continuously falling for the lower definition I will defend the child from the horrors of the self-convinced. Free speech is always the right way to go. Merry Christmas.